and welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a long time since I've done an update. I don't think I've actually updated since my 39-week update on my pregnancy, and there's a reason why. If you guys don't follow me on Facebook, then you might not know, or if you don't follow me on Twitter, but I recently had my baby boy, and he is healthy and beautiful and wonderful, and yes, I am going to tell you all about my labor and delivery and catch you guys up on what has gone on. First off, I didn't do a 40-week update. Nothing really happened that week. I went to my appointment. I got my membrane swept again. They said I was like a full 1 centimeter, so I hadn't really progressed since then. And I went home hoping that something would happen because, you know, my due date hadn't come and gone. And yeah, nothing. Nada. Not whatsoever. And they said they wouldn't get me induced until I was at minimum 10 days overdue, so it was sucking. They did schedule me for a 41-week appointment, and I was really hoping that it wasn't going to go to that I wouldn't have to go and everything like that. 41 weeks came, passed it, still no baby. And I was getting really kind of anxious at this point, like not having a good time. I really wanted to meet him. Corey and I went to my appointment, and my doctor checked me again. I was still 1 centimeter, and they did another membrane sweep, and yeah, it didn't look like I'd progressed at all. So she told me, I think my appointment was on a Thursday, so she had told me that they would schedule me to be induced on the weekend. So I was kind of excited because if worse came to worse, I would have the baby on the weekend. So it sounded good. So they wanted me to go for a non-stress test to see, just make sure the baby's doing okay because I am overdue, and yeah, all that jazz. Last time I had gone for a non-stress test, they did it on the 39-week appointment as well. The baby hadn't moved for a long time, and it was because I hadn't eaten. So she told me to go eat first and then come back. Not a big deal. We went to go eat. Of course, I didn't eat very healthy, and we got McDonald's, which is probably the crappiest food to be eating, but it was quick, and we needed something quick and to go back to the test. Went and ate, and Corey and I headed back to the stress test. We'd done it all before. I wasn't really concerned. Like, I knew what was going to happen, and yeah, wasn't concerned. So they hooked me up, and as soon as they hooked me up, the baby's heart rate was low, like 78. I can tell the nurses are starting to panic, and they don't know why his heart rate is so low. I had also started to have mild contractions from the membrane sweep. Every time I was having contractions, the baby's heart rate was dropping a lot, like from 130 to 80 something. It wasn't going as planned. It wasn't like the routine, and the nurses start panicking. They run in with an IV of fluids, and they call my doctor right away to come in and check me out, because by this time the doctor had already left the hospital. My doctor came in. At first she wasn't too concerned, and then when she started to look at the contraction monitor thing, she noticed that like it was dropping a lot, and they weren't sure why. She brought in the ultrasound thing into my room, and of course by this time I'm crying because I don't know what's wrong, and I'm so worried that something is wrong with my baby. And yeah, so they bring in the ultrasound thing and they put it on my stomach, and she can see that the cord is all up in front of the baby. And every time I was having contraction, it looked like my stomach was cutting off the oxygen of the umbilical cord, and he wasn't receiving oxygen, which was making his heart rate drop. She said it also looked like I didn't have any fluid left, or very minimal. She gave me a choice. She said that they could break my water and try and get things going, but if it is that it's cutting off the oxygen, that most likely it would end up in an emergency C-section anyways, or we could just do the emergency C-section. Now, of course, this wasn't what I wanted. I always wanted a natural birth, but I had to make a decision, and she also said to me that because I live in a small town, if they were to bring my water and it was going to be emergency C-section, it would take half an hour for the doctors to get there, or like to get ready, and it might not end well. So I made the most selfless decision I've ever made in my life, and I decided to have a C-section. No ifs, ands, or buts, no breaking the water, just go ahead, do the C-section. It was terrifying, like, to say the least. It was literally a matter of minutes. I had the doctors there, they're putting the catheter in me, changing me into the gown or whatever, they have Corey dressing up in scrubs and everything, and this is all within like a matter of minutes of me finding out that he was in trouble. And so it just seemed very fast. I had time to call my mom and let my mom know because she lives a whiles away from me. Yeah, it was just panic mode. I had called my mom earlier in the day telling her, oh, all's good, I'm getting induced on the weekend, and now it was like an hour later and I'm calling her saying I'm going in for a C-section, I'm having the baby tonight. They took me into the room and I was really scared, and yeah, it was really scary. They had me bend over. They told me that they couldn't knock me out or anything because I had eaten, so I would just be having an epidural. I bent over, they freezed my back, and they put in the epidural. I have to say the epidural wasn't too bad. I couldn't feel anything. The needle was worse than the actual epidural because I couldn't feel, like literally I couldn't feel the epidural at all. Then my legs started to numb and I was in this big room by myself, like Corey wasn't allowed in at first. So they lie me down and I can start to feel my legs going numb, and I start panicking because they have me start strapping me to the bed, strapping my arms down, putting up the sheets so I can't see my stomach. And it was a weird feeling because I could still feel them touching me, but like I couldn't move my toes or my legs. So I started like panicking and telling them that it wasn't working and that I was scared that I was gonna feel it. So she started pinching me with this thing, my doctor. And she said, can you feel that? And I was like, well, what are you doing? She's like, well, I'm pinching you. So I was like, no, no, no. And so then, but then I started looking around. I guess the doctor could tell that I was really starting to panic. And so she's like, don't worry, Corey's gonna be in here right away. Then all of a sudden she's like, hey, did you feel that? And I was like, no. And she's like, okay, well, I cut you. And I was just like, what? And she's like, okay, Corey can come in now. So Corey came. It was just the weirdest feeling because I could feel them like digging around in there, but I couldn't feel pain. And I have to say it was like the weirdest feeling, but when I imagined a C-section, I imagined it to be way worse than it actually was. So definitely, like, it definitely isn't as bad as people think it's gonna be, but it was a weird feeling. And of course I had Corey who was staring at me the whole time, and I kept telling him not to look because I was just like so paranoid, and I just had to like close my eyes and focus as they were doing it. So of course whenever I closed my eyes, Corey would look because he doesn't get grossed out by that stuff, so he watched. It was amazing. All of a sudden I see this little baby boy come out to the side and like bring him to the side, and they wash him off and everything, and they wrapped him up and they brought him to me, and I got to kiss him on the head, and they gave him to Corey right away. And then of course Corey left. And then I was in the room by myself. They said I was going to be there for about 20 minutes before I would be going to recovery, and then after that I would get to go to the room to see the baby. So I do have to say that's the most disappointing thing, is you don't get to be with your baby right away, and that is the one thing I really hated out of the whole C-section. So then I'm sitting there and I started chattering really bad, and I started to panic because I couldn't move my toes and I hated the feeling. So I started telling the nurse, like, I hate that I can't feel my feet. So one of the nurses would rub my feet and massage my feet so I could feel them, so I wouldn't have that panic that I'm gonna be like paralyzed. Like that's all I kept thinking, is like, what if it doesn't go away? And so I guess because I was chattering, the other doctor, he put morphine into my epidural thing. And I remember I started getting like so loopy and like telling jokes and like, at least my baby's not gonna have a cone head now and blah blah blah, and like, oh my god, I thought it was so hilarious. And then I told them I was gonna take a nap till they were done because the morphine was just like whoo high, like I don't know how people handle that, like it made me instantly sleepy. So yeah, I definitely made a fool of myself. After about 20 minutes I got lifted off. I went to recovery. I sat in recovery, I guess, till I started to get a little bit of feeling back in my legs. And then I think it was about an hour I was gone, and then they brought me up to my room and I got to see my little baby. Now, they did tell me that my son had started to starve inside me. There was no fluid. My doctor told me when she was cutting me open that there was almost no fluid, and I definitely made the right choice because it would have ended up an emergency C-section either way. So I definitely made the better decision. They also told me that because he didn't have enough fluid, that his skull hadn't fully calcified, so he had like these weird marks on the top of his head, and he had a couple soft spots. So yeah, I have to remember where I was because my camera died. Oh, also, he had low blood sugar. Now I'm not sure if that had anything to do with the whole situation. But the poor little guy, he had to have his heel pricked like 14 times I'll be there to make sure his blood sugar was going up, and I was breastfeeding, so we had to like supplement him with formula, and gosh, like the whole ordeal of being in there was just crazy, and it was just crazy. So basically I went in for my stress test at 6:30, and at 9:21 on March 20th, Kaden Liam was born. And I have never been so happy in my entire life. He is the most perfect, beautiful thing, and I just couldn't ask for anything more, ever. Like, but yeah, I guess I will show you guys him. That is my labor and delivery story, even though I didn't go through labor. I just, yeah, definitely a different experience. But yeah, I will show you guys him now. He's sleeping, so I'm not gonna wake him up, but here is Kaden Liam. He is the most beautiful baby boy on this planet. Well, in my eyes. I'm sure everyone else's babies are beautiful as well, but he's perfect for me. So yeah, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you want to watch more of my videos. Also, like this video and leave me some comments. I will talk to you guys all later. Bye!